Bitcoin is experiencing turbulence on the way to the upside here. I'll be discussing whether that is healthy or not and whether that is likely to continue. I'll then move in and discuss my invalidation zone for this bull market. That is, if we drop below that level, I will be selling everything. And I'll finalize this video by discussing the ETF narrative and the ETF realities and how it's only going to get more bullish from that regard. A few things to cover today. It all wraps up in one nice, neat bundle. So check it out here today. Thanks for watching in advance. Let's get into it.
Guys, before we get into the content today, the VIP group is running a sale for a limited time, just 3 or 4 days left on that sale now, with a 78.52% win rate on the altcoin trading signals posted in VIP. It's definitely worth joining for the bull market. Check that out if you're interested. Go ahead and check out as well the BingX and BitGet exchanges. Both are very low in trading fees and both have never been hacked before, so have very good historical security, which you need on an exchange, especially for a bull market. My referral links are down below for 15% trading fee discounts. And finally, we're running a sale again here on the Crypto Academy for the bull market. The Become a Trader 10-unit course will teach you everything you need to know about trading from a charting basis and from a fundamental basis. So check that out again if you're interested. So let's get right into it here. We're discussing short-term charts, funding rates, which link into short-term charts. We're discussing the massive similarities between this bull market here, between 2016 and 2017, and what we're seeing currently. Okay, that's a very important thing. We're also discussing ETF, something very important is happening with ETF inflows that I'm going to be discussing that's going to basically lead to a massive spike in Bitcoin price, most likely, or a gradual spike, I should say, in about 4 or 5 months from now. We'll discuss that in a second. Maybe a lot of people don't know about that. Then we've got my sell point, my invalidation zones for the bull market on Bitcoin and Ethereum. When would I say that the bull market is finished? And when would I say this is a dud? You know, when would I sell everything? It's very important to know that as well. You can't just be blindly holding. You need to actually know, okay, if it drops below this level, that's when you get out. That's how you avoid losing tons of money. Okay, let's get into it. Now, Bitcoin is experiencing turbulence, but the good thing is it's like a plane, right? When you're taking off on a plane, you're going upwards, your trajectory is upwards, but you experience massive turbulence. And that's exactly what we've been seeing on Bitcoin. Even if you just look at the hourly chart on Bitcoin, you can see that from around the 29th of February, right, we've moved upwards 27%. So 27% in 2 weeks. But you can see that throughout this move upwards, we've had so many little small drops. We had a drop here, 9% drop in just a few hours there. We had a drop here of 15% in just like 6 hours. Another drop here, up and down, 6%. And what you'll notice about these drops is they go up and down. They go spike to the upside, spike to the downside, then continue upwards. Spike to the upside, downside, then continue upwards. Upside, downside, continue upwards. Upside, downside, continue upwards. This one was a straight drop. Why are we seeing this turbulence? Is this turbulence healthy? Is this turbulence a sign of exhaustion? Let me tell you right now, this turbulence is completely normal in an upwards trend, especially in a bull market. It's actually due to funding rates. One of the reasons, at least, is funding rates. Liquidation maps is another reason. Fact of the matter is, right now in a bull market, happens in a bear market as well, you have so many people jumping into long positions that basically the whales just flush the price up and down and just wreck everyone. All right, they're called scam wicks. They happen all the time when the funding rates get too high. It happens, like, for example, we're looking at the historical funding rates right now from September last year, and you can see that right now funding rates are basically as high as they've been throughout this entire period of time. In fact, I've read certain posts on Twitter and stuff that funding rates are the highest they've been for about 3 years on an average basis for the last week or two. So you can see that basically a lot of people are in long positions right now. Basically, no one's in short positions, and this is shown by the fact that if you just scroll up here and you look at the funding rates in the screen for all these altcoins across all these different exchanges on the x-axis, you can see that, you know, all of them are red, which means all of them are positive, which means these long positions are quite high risk for liquidation whips, for scam rigs. So if you're entering leverage positions right now, just know that you need to have those tight stop losses, because there is very, very high chances, you know, we've seen it in the last 14 days about 6 times, of just getting these massive irrational wicks to the upside and downside while the price just continues upwards after it. So even though the price might look like a good long on the daily chart, weekly chart, it might actually not be on a short-term basis because of these massive wicks. This is why, in my opinion, spot trading is quite good in a bull market. I do use leverage trading as well in certain scenarios, but you need to be very cautious with it. Generally speaking, a good time to enter leverage positions in a bull market is just after we've seen these flushes. or during the flush. You can get quite a good buy at a very high risk, position. But just after you see the flushes, that's when you enter, because generally speaking, you don't really see flushes happen right after each other. You have gaps in between them. So Bitcoin has a few important lines here that I want to discuss in the hourly chart, just for a bit of short-term analysis here. What we have is three important lines. We have one level, okay, and that is this white box here at the prior all-time high, the 2021 all-time high, which we are testing for support currently. If we hold that zone, of course, that means the Bitcoin's in a good position to bounce to the upside. If we drop that zone, we will enter an extended correction. I'll be discussing what an extended correction implies in a second here, and when I would look to de-risk if that correction gets too bad, but ultimately I'm not concerned at all, right? Corrections are very normal in bull markets. We've seen them in every single bull market before. Then we've got another line here at 71.3k, which has proven to be a very interesting short-term level. Okay, held for support throughout this entire range here. Resistance, support again, resistance, support again. We've dropped below it now, but it's a very interesting level that adds a different dynamic to the Bitcoin price action. When Bitcoin finally goes back up to that price region, I would expect it to find resistance at 71.3k. I expect that resistance to be broken, obviously, but it is a level you need to be watching as a potential take profit for a long position or spot position, whatever you're doing. And then finally, the all-time high here at 73.6k, of course, is a level that's formed because we've seen a rejection from there on a wick, a rejection from there on another wick, and a rejection from a close as well. So 3 separate rejections from that one level. So these are the 3 important levels on Bitcoin short-term price action right now. This prior all-time high support box, 71.3k, and the all-time high at 73.6k. And then below that, we're looking at levels all the way down here at something like 64k, maybe 65.8k, something like that. But the reality is there's not really too much support in this price region. But again, leading back to what I said at the start, this is bullish price action. This is an upwards trend with turbulence. Okay, it's sustaining. The bears don't really have that much power to turn any of these corrections into actual downside moves. This is a very significant correction here. That could have turned into a downside move. The fact of the matter is the bears didn't have any power. Do they have power now that we've broken all-time highs? Maybe they do. Or maybe we just flip this zone and continue upwards. But what I can say is this right now is very healthy. When will I consider it unhealthy? Well, for that to be answered, I need to look at the macro charts, because obviously I can't say, oh, the bull market's over if we go below 69k. That's just completely irrational. You see drops in a bull market, let's be real. Okay, that you zoom backwards to prior bull markets, which we'll do in a second here, and you see 30% corrections constantly. Now, this bull market so far has been actually the exception in the fact that we haven't seen much bearish price action at all. In fact, the last time Bitcoin saw significant drops was back here in January, but before that, really, it was over here in February or March 2023. That was the last real time we had a downwards trend, and that was basically a year ago now. So we've had a pretty good streak here for Bitcoin, driven by many factors that I've discussed many times, one of them being ETFs. But right now, if I'm going to sit here and ask the question to myself, well, when am I not going to be confident in Bitcoin's ability to maintain the bull market? When would I sell my positions? I'm looking directly at the 49k level, okay? Because right now we have a macro support zone right here. It is completely rational for Bitcoin in a bull market to come down and test its nearest macro support zone. It is even potentially rational for us to drop below that macro support zone and go to the second lower macro support zone. But if you drop below 2 separate macro support zones, that is indicative of more than just a regular correction. That is indicative of potentially flipping into a bear market. So where is my sell point for Bitcoin? Well, and cryptocurrency as a whole, and where is my invalidation zone for this bull market? I would say if we drop much below that 49k to 47.5k level, I would say pretty confidently that this structure is pretty much destroyed. And I think for Ethereum, you can say essentially the same thing using the same support levels that it tested at the time Bitcoin did. So, for example, Bitcoin first tested 47.5k to 49k around here on January the 8th, and Ethereum at around January the 8th tested around 2,700. So again, I would expect that if Bitcoin dropped below that 49k level, Ethereum would have done so as well. And there's no real reason for me at all I mean, look, you don't need to be a genius on the charts to really recognize this at all, really. If Ethereum drops below that red line, let's say this red line down here, let's give it the benefit of it out. Let's say these two support zones back here in February 2022. If Ethereum drops below that level, how would you confidently say, oh yeah, we're still in a bull market? That just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So yeah, those are my invalidation zones for Bitcoin and obviously for Ethereum as well. That 49K level-ish is where I would expect if Bitcoin went anywhere below that, I would be very, very, very concerned and de-risking my positions quite heavily. And preferably we stay above something like 53K, 52K, but yeah, 49K, that level over there, that's probably the maximum I would like to see Bitcoin go downwards. Anyway, moving forward to that, I want to discuss a couple more things. One thing I want to look at, I'll actually look at this tomorrow, I think, is 2016, 2017, the bull market, the similarities we're seeing between now and then. I'll discuss today, though, the ETF inflows, okay? What I want to discuss mainly, inflows are still coming in nicely. Obviously, it's bolstering the price action. A lot of people are buying because of the inflows. It's very important to note that the inflows alone, they're very, very good. You know, $200, $300, $400 million a day in, net positive inflows there. They're very good, but it's also the narrative that's pushing the price action upwards. So people see that the inflows are very good and they buy because of the inflows. The inflows themselves are not the only thing pushing the price up. It's the narrative the inflows are causing as well. And that's probably the main bolster of price action. But the inflows, by the way, are only going to get more extreme because we have Grayscale, who had a total of around 600,000 Bitcoin back here when the ETFs were first released. And now 2 months later, they have just under 400,000 total Bitcoin. And this means that in 2 months, they've decreased the amount of Bitcoin they own. They've sold off 33% of their Bitcoin. So if that's happened in 2 months, then in 4 months from now, if they continue at this rate, they'd have no Bitcoin left. And if they have no Bitcoin left, that means the vast majority of the selling pressure on ETFs will have been gone, and the average daily inflows will have increased quite massively, because right now about 50% of the volume is coming from Grayscale selling. So that will be a big bolstering to the ETF. So look, that narrative is bullish, and it's only going to get more bullish. Obviously, it's hard to predict to a certain extent as well, because it could be a fad. People might lose interest. It could actually bolster downside price action when the bear market starts. But as of right now, if we are going to assume the status quo, we're going to assume ETF inflows are going to keep coming in, then we have reason to believe that when Grayscale stops selling, or they'll run out of things to sell, there will be massively more net buying coming in from ETFs on a net level. So ETF narrative is still looking good. It's only going to get better. Bitcoin is experiencing turbulence, but it's healthy turbulence. In fact, just as I've been making this video, you can see we've dropped downwards again. 71.3K level has been lost, but ultimately it is being built up as a level that matters, even though we've just lost it. And we're coming back downwards here to test 69K. And maybe we go downwards. Maybe we drop below that level. As I said, we're in a rapid move to the upside. It wouldn't be unhealthy at all to see correction. So guys, I just want to end the video there. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Again, check out VIP group on Telegram, check out the BitGet and BingX exchanges, and check out the Crypto Academy's Become a Trader 10-unit course. All of these things will help you in getting trading signals, joining a community, learning how to trade, having a good exchange to trade on. They're very good. Check them out. Thank you for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next video.